Welcome to another video! I'm Scott Keppel. You know what it is. In today's video, we are gonna go over a 10-step, we're gonna go over a 10-step creative process that I use for intricate design. We're gonna take a look at the Nightcrawler themed Huracan, recently completed by Aerowerkz for Bryan Casella. Make sure to check out his channel when you get a chance. Link in the description below. But without further ado, let's get started on these 10 steps of my creative process. Ooh. Number 1, have a cup of coffee. Smoke. Do what you gotta do to get ready for the flow. Whatever it takes to get you in the flow is where you gotta go. So review your email, review the project card, review all the details, just kind of take it in. But most of all, have that cup of coffee nearby. So getting in that zone is a little bit about just getting your heart rate at the right pace to really think about what you're doing and do a good job. Step 2, open everything up and set up. That means open up all sides, open up whatever documents you have to, get whatever elements you are going to need to do the design. Just have everything nearby and set up shop. Have all your programs open, ready to go. Easy peasy, boom, bang, bang. It's a lot easier to start working if it's all ready to go. Not that much to elaborate on with this one. Step 3, you're sitting for a while. Step 4, I think that there's a different kind of music that you would listen to for every single project. A few of mine are lo-fi and trap right now, but sometimes I like some metal, sometimes I like some death metal, but I find myself getting most creative when I'm listening to lo-fi hip-hop beats to study and relax to, or something like Trap It in Japan, or you know, a little bit more bump like that. Step 5, enter the creative realm.
Walk drive, Mr. Scott.
So here we have a Lamborghini Huracan, and we're going to be creating a Nightcrawler theme for it. Nightcrawler is the famous Kurt Wagner from the Marvel Comics. He's most notably known for the X-Men series. He's the one who goes and then he teleports from place to place. But his defining characteristics are definitely going to be like the red giant kind of V of his suit. And then also I love the detail of his skin in the movies where it has like all the cool symbolic meaning and stuff. So here we have a butterfly view template for the Lamborghini Huracan. It's not a seamless template because of the way that the angles are here, but it is a semi-accurate layout of how it would be set up as long as your seamless panels will be solid color. Otherwise, you will have to take some graphics and spin them in different directions to make sure that the bumpers line up correctly. My newer Huracan template is actually much better than this one, and I will be releasing that soon. So keep an eye out for that. What you're seeing here is basically just taking the pen tool in Photoshop and creating a custom shape. And I'm doing this as the top-down version of his suit, as if it's kind of folded onto the side of the car. And after that, we'll go through and make all the tones of the skin and everything. The entire point of step 5 is 100% focused on the project at hand and what you have to do with it. It's what it's all about. This is what the core of the entire project is. So it's going to vary. I guess you can't really be applicable for everybody if you go into specifics, but whatever the project is, you're creating the artwork for. By now, if you're in a music zone, then you should already be there. If you listen to nothing, then whatever. But create the project, yo. Focus on that only, tune everything else out. Turn off the phone, turn off everything, focus on the project. It's important to focus. The first time that you get that proof out, the first time you can put your entire self into it, the less proofs you'll have to do, the happier your clients will be, and the faster you'll get projects done. Go for it. Step 6, write down your thoughts while you're making the project. If you think of something, you might want to come back to it later. You might even picture something from another project. Write it down. My girlfriend got me one of these composition books a little while ago, and I've been writing in it ever since. I can't help it. But write it down, get your thoughts out. It's how you'll create better. Oh, I didn't do this. So, step 7. I think there comes a time in most projects when you have just a long chunk of mindless stuff where you're not really having to put structure, but you're more or less just kind of going over everything, and you kind of just don't think about it after a while because it's just accent work or something like that. So this is usually the time when I'll put on like a podcast or I'll put on a deep dive. I leave YouTube on all the time, but it's either music or it's something like deep dives or down the rabbit hole, which I just enjoyed watching the one on Noah Antweiler, which was pretty wild. And I think that when you're doing mindless stuff, it's the perfect time to have your mind absorb as well. So I like to consume stuff. So I call this the snack and click phase, because usually what you'll do is you'll have something like ice cream or your water, or or your water. But this is when you have your snacks and you just go to town, baby. And speaking of podcasts, Bryan, Casella, the owner of this Huracan, is actually launching his podcast on a new YouTube channel in addition to his current one, the Supreme Being podcast. So I'm going to put a link in the description below. Be sure to check that out. And on this Huracan, I've already made my elements and small accents and stuff that I wanted to make within the suit. And now I'm starting to lay in textures, shadows, finishing up my shapes, tweaking it as I go, and kind of like refining it. I think I still need to recenter it here, just kind of working with colors and getting it mostly laid out the way that it needs to be. So this was pretty much how I built the first proof and pretty much print ready files for this. The reason why I like to set it up on this is because all of the major breaks of the body are solid colors, so there's no major like technical part that the wrap shop has to worry about. And I think one of the responsibilities of the designer when they're thinking about setting up a project like this is making sure that you're considering that side, and the ease of install is pretty important. And if it's not an easy install, just having communications and instructions on making it an easy install makes all the difference in the end. But this project never really had that kind of a worry because Aerowerkz crushes it every time. I think they're one of the most technologically advanced installation facilities in the country. Shout out Aerowerkz, shout out Bryan, Casella. Thank you guys so much for working with me on this project. Step 8. Execute greatness! Basically, it's kind of the same as 7, but you're kind of phasing back into music because you always want to make sure you come back into it and put that full focus on, because once you get that autonomous part out of the way, you have to go back over everything and realize the detail there. Drawing is something that everybody experiences different. Art is something everybody expresses differently. So if consuming while producing doesn't work for everybody, then that is something that you'll just have to swap out for there. But execute greatness and just basically go over the project. That's one last thing I wanted to talk about was step 9. Open up every conversation that you've had about the project, because it's always great to have email be the way that you've kept record, but whatever platform you've discussed it on, go over each message again and just make sure you didn't miss anything inside of there, because sometimes there was like a small logo change that popped up in the middle of a conversation. So just go over it one more time, make sure you didn't miss anything. Final step 10. Send it. Full send it into reality. When you click send on that email with print files or proof or anything that you're creating, it doesn't even have to be wrap design, but the second that you send something that you've never exposed to the outside world before, and it's just coming straight from your mind and your heart, that is like the moment when you have that the most excitement, I think, is just sending something, and there's that, I can't explain it, but send it into reality. It's the craziest feeling to start getting projects out there and have things actually be created around you, and see the impact that you can have on others through that. The happiness that raps alone bring so many people every day is wild, and I don't know if everybody gets to see that. I think that a lot of us rap designers have an interesting point of view of the industry, especially when you start working with hundreds of shops worldwide. And man, the smiles that they can bring is a huge reason to stay in the game in the first place, especially with the rallies that visit children's hospitals or visit towns that gather thousands of people. Just seeing people enjoy even just a moment of their day is why it's all worth it. So that was 10 steps of my creative process as of today. And if you enjoyed this, please click like. If you loved it, please subscribe. I need all the help I can get over here. And if you enjoy gaming, be sure to check out my other channel where I play PUBG Mobile. And now I'm starting to do a little bit of Gears of War 5 when I can. I don't get a lot of opportunity, but I have saved every game I've ever played, so I'll always be uploading. Thank you so much for watching, if you're still watching, and I'll see you in the next video that I do. Bye, 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 bye.
Maybe I'm a bird following the seasons. This is what
More detail. Ah, there it is. Yes, I can see the detail. Yes, that drip is dripping hard. Drip.
kept the engine on, never stayed too long. I'm alright, I don't mind being restless. Something in your eye made me stay all night. I can see you are different too. Love me like a stranger, like a melody, flowing wild and free. Love me like a stranger, let it be unique, run away with me. Love me like a, love me like a, love me like a, love me like a stranger. Maybe you're a bird singing for believers, a song meant to be heard, but never meant for preachers.